Hi everyone, Phil here. Feels like it's been a little while since Ilham Meslier's error and I last did on the whistle. I thought I would just do a little update for you because I've been down to see Régis Le Bris at the Academy Light this afternoon, and because it's been so long since the Leeds game and the game's not till Sunday, it was a bit more news than we might normally get your standard press conference, so I just thought I'd talk you through it really in case it was something people are interested in and wanting to watch and listen to. If you think it's something that you'd enjoy in future and you'd like me to do again, just leave a message in the comments. It's always really useful to get your feedback. Similarly, if you think it's rubbish and I'm wasting my time and you don't want any more of it, then just leave a comment below the line and I'll take that on board for future. So I think the big thing that everyone was looking to from this press conference was obviously the team news. Sunderland have had quite a thin squad, pretty much since the start of the season actually. I think the hope was that there would be a bit more depth moving into this busy block of 6 fixtures. Bit of a mixed update on that front. Dan Ballard and Eliza Mienda, it sounds as if aren't going to be available for Saturday. We hope that Ballard recovered from his ankle problem, Mienda from a minor muscle issue. We hope that it would be fit for Saturday and they'd be back in the squad. I don't think we necessarily thought either of those players were going to push into the starting 11 straight away. I don't think there's any need for a big overhaul as it is. I think we hoped at least Mienda would be on the bench to add something a bit different in the final sections of the game. Doesn't look like that's going to be the case, but Le Bris was pretty upbeat about them. He said they were very, very close to returning. We expect to see them both definitely next Saturday at home to Oxford and potentially on Wednesday night when Sunderland travel to Luton. That would obviously be a big boost. And the positive does mean is that, Le Bris is getting some genuine options to add to his depth in the weeks ahead. So kind of a bit of a mixed update on those two. The big change obviously from the Leeds game is that Aaron Connolly was on the bench for that game, but he was never realistically going to come off the bench. He's now very much an option. Le Bris spoke about him a lot today, how impressed he'd been with his performances in training, how fit he thinks he is. Connolly has played 2 under-21s games over the international break. He scored and played 45 minutes in the first. He scored a brace and played 70 minutes in the second. It's basically gone perfectly to plan over the international break, and he's ready to go, and he is definitely an option for Le Bris on Sunday against his former club. Kind of perfect timing, and I expect we'll probably see him debut. If you want my guess, I think he'll come off the bench. I think Le Bris might name an unchanged team, there we go, third time's the charm, on Sunday. Not anything that he said specifically. I just got the vibe from speaking to him about Connolly and about the team generally that, I think he'll, especially with 3 games in 6 days, he'll phase Connolly in. And I think, to be fair, he still, I think, deserves to stay in the team. He's played, he's made 3 starts up front and he scored in 2 of those games. Didn't score against Leeds, but I don't think he put in a poor performance, and a lot of time in that game he was quite isolated. So I think he absolutely deserves his chance. And Connolly, it'll be up to him to make an impression off the bench. But it'll be nice, I think, for Le Bris to have a genuine bit of a game change coming off the bench, because I think that with Pervader's injury issues, I think that's something that Sunderland have really missed so far this season. So that's a positive. The big negative really is Salis Abdul-Samed, a player we're all desperate to see because of his pedigree and because he'll bring something completely different to the squad. Le Bris did confirm that he's not really close to his debut. He's not back in full training. It sounds like it's probably going to be after the November international break when he returns. I asked him, because a lot of people had asked me, sort of quite rightly so, what was going on. Really strange to sign a loan player who's going to be unavailable for such a long period of time. Sunderland initially thought he would be back, he would be fit pretty soon after signing. When he arrived, it became clear that it was going to take a little bit longer, but that he then was very close to full fitness when he suffered a recurrence of the injury. So essentially, he's had a new injury while he's been here, which is why it's taken him so long. Sunderland are now at the point where they're being really cautious with him, because their big fear is that if he suffers another recurrence, it could potentially, by the sounds of it, take out a huge chunk of the season. We might not see much of him at all. So while it's frustrating at the moment, Sunderland are taking the view that if they proceed carefully for the next few weeks, manage his training workload really carefully and bring him in gradually, then it could still potentially have a big impact over 25, 30 games. And what they don't want to do is risk losing him for a big chunk of the season and then potentially only have him for a small period. Really frustrating, and I can understand the frustrations with essentially signing an injured player. The only kind of thing I would say is that we can take some hope from is that this was a little bit similar to what happened with Edouard Michou. If you think about it, Michou didn't really feature in the team until after the winter break because of the World Cup that year, and he still played 20-odd games and had a really big part in pushing Sunderland to the playoffs. Hopefully Samed can do the same, but at the moment it definitely leaves Sunderland a little bit light. So that was, for sure, a big frustration. The other interesting thing talking about with Régis about at the press conference was the appointment of Pedro Ribeiro, his new assistant head coach. really interesting that Le Bris basically said he interviewed about, I think it was about 10 candidates for the job, none of whom he had any previous working experience with. I think that really goes to show, tells you a lot about Le Bris, actually, how open-minded he is, how inquisitive he is, but also how quite single-minded he is. He wasn't bothered about having any of his own staff here, how comfortable in his own skin he is. Basically cited Ribeiro's top-flight experience, if you like, his elite experience, if you like, having worked with clubs like Porto, as something that he thinks he can bring a lot to the table from that. And also said his primary role is basically going to be on the defensive side of the game. And so that's really interesting, that's basically where his day-to-day responsibilities are going to be on the training ground. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that takes shape over the next sort of coming weeks and months, yeah. So that's pretty much all your main headlines. All of the stuff I've mentioned, I will be writing pieces on over the next couple of days. So you can just keep an eye on the Echo, keep an eye on my Twitter. I'll be posting all the links out and stuff. And yeah, hopefully you'll get a good overview from all of that. Like I say, let me know if you'd like me to do these kind of things more in the future, or if you're not really bothered. And I'll take that on board. We're always looking to try and do some different stuff with our video output, and really grateful for all the support for On The Whistle this year. I'll obviously be back for On The Whistle after the Hull game. So I'll see you then. Fingers crossed Sunderland will have 3 more points in the bag. Cheers.